Dougherty. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Packersnews.com. I'm Ryan Wood. That is Pete Dougherty. This is Paul Brown Stadium, and that, Pete, was one of the strangest, wildest games you'll ever see at this level. We're just talking before we went on here in trying to decipher it all, figure it all out, and it's difficult because, look, the brass tacks, 5 missed field goals starting with 2:12 left in the game. The Packers thought they had this game won 3 times before they won it. They also thought they had it lost twice before they won it. You'll never see a game like this. It's just one of those things. It's an anomaly.
No, I can't imagine you will. We were talking like you've got the Seahawks game, the Hail Mary and the Hail Mary against the Lions.
Those championship game.
Those had huge endings, dramatic endings, but for a 10-minute stretch in game time, missed field goal, 5 times. And they were all makeable kicks, even the 56 or 57 yard or whatever it was. Yeah. It was makeable, and he hit a good ball. He just hit the upright. I thought it was over each time. Every time the guy stepped up to kick, I thought, well, this is it, ball game, and it wasn't. So this is probably the quirkiest, strangest game I've seen.
One of the most surreal things I've ever seen on an NFL field was when Evan McPherson missed his 49-yard field goal and celebrated like he just won the Super Bowl, even as the officials were signaling no good, because it was actually not as close as I thought it would be. It was close, but at the end, his kick went wide left, and that's with 8:08 left. The Packers, they get a Davante Campbell interception that sets up a short field and field goal in overtime. Game over then. Nope, it's not. Wide left. You've got 51 yards after the 57-yard doink. Look, the 57-yard doink should have been a game winner. It doinked. He had plenty of leg, Evan McPherson.
It was a good kick.
21 seconds left. Aaron Rodgers to Davante Adams for 20 yards in the middle field, a la 2 weeks ago in San Francisco. You're thinking same thing, except Mason Crosby wide left. It was amazing how many, like neither one of these teams wanted to win. And let me, an old trade secret, you know what I'm talking about. Try to write a running off of this game. Yeah. My face was probably red.
I don't envy you, because you were even missing half of it because you had your nose in the keyboard trying to bang out that story. But it was incredible, and this is a hard game to draw any lasting conclusions about the team. I mean, actually, one of them I draw is, they had some significant injuries without Alexander and Smith on defense, no Bakhtiari, no Jenkins, no starting center Myers on offense. And win or lose, they played a pretty good game. Now, they failed to put the game away with their offense. They had a couple chances early fourth quarter, late fourth quarter, and they didn't get the ball in the end zone. And so you're trading 3 for 7 there. Or 7 for 3. That's not the way to win games. And they need their offense to win them games. But actually, the defense without Alexander and Smith, I see there's a question here from somebody. I think it was, Jacques C. is asking about the defense. Considering no Smith and no Alexander, that defense wasn't bad. 22 points against, a pretty good young quarterback and a good Bengals team. I don't know what you thought. I thought they played okay.
Aaron Rodgers said after the game that he was talking. He didn't know if it was MVS or another teammate on the sideline during the game, and said, how the hell is Davante Campbell on the street?
Yeah.
Really.
It's mind-boggling.
And you know what? Hey, Aaron Rodgers gave a little kudos to the personnel staff there for finding him.
Through clenched teeth, maybe no.
Every little praise goes a little long way, but he did. And it was a heck of a pickup, because Davante Campbell has been, sensational. He's been really, really good.
He's a good player. He's got 2 picks, and just besides those, he's covering well, and he's a big, fast guy. He's just clearly, I think he's the best. I'm starting to think he's their best inside linebacker, maybe since I started covering. I think he's probably better than Hawk ever played for him.
I was going to ask you, when's the last time they had an inside linebacker?
Nick Barnett was pretty good, but I don't know that he was, he didn't have the length this guy has. So I think, you could argue, it might be a one-year thing because he's not the youngest guy in the world, but he has really, really helped their defense.
Jared says need someone other than Davante Adams to stretch the field while MVS is out. Do you, though? Do you? 206 yards, 11 catches.
It'd be, do you? It'd be nice to, but, how many teams would have that? And, It was big when Rodgers missed Adams down by the goal line on that
huge.
one. That could have put the game away, and they didn't get that.
4 times they thought they
what
had
a good, but what a connection they have. Like that completion to set up one of the many misses, at the end of regulation, I think it was, where he hit Adams, and it looked just like the San Francisco game. I mean, anybody watching both games, would have known that. It was just, how do you stop those guys?
It's kind of like our connection here on Facebook Live, Pete.
One of the things I saw when they were down at the goal line the last time was on second down. They had Adams to the left, and they had both safeties. It's red zone, so both safeties are pretty far up anyway. And just before the snap, the safety on Adams' side, he was alone on that side, peeled back. I mean, when you're getting double covered and you're the only guy on that side in the red zone, like for a fade pattern, they only do that to the most dangerous guys in this league.
And that's Davante Adams. A couple quick things. One, 206 yards. I got to double check because, my mind's been on there's been a lot here, but I'm pretty sure that's his first 200-yard game. Davante Adams talked about after the game. He said he told 3 people outside the building, one of them his wife, that he was about to go for a career game against the Bengals. He just had a feel. He said this before. You can have a feel going into a game. He felt like he was going to go off. He went off. It's kind of interesting. The first 2 targets, neither were caught, and one of them was an interception. So he recovered. They recovered from that, and it was a baby, taking candy from a baby all afternoon with Davante Adams. The other thing, you mentioned it at the end. They have 21 seconds left at the 47-yard lines. There's no doubt that they're at that point that they're going to make a play and get into field goal range. That's kind of the level that they've gotten to. Like, it's going to happen. It's coming, and it still can't be stopped. That's a pretty special level for a quarterback and receiver to get onto.
There's a couple questions here. One, does Barnes hold off Smith for playing time? I guess we don't know because we just haven't seen Smith play. I'm a little suspect on how good this guy is going to be. I get the Cowboys did it to save money next year because if he got hurt or if he had to have postseason surgery this year, if he's not healthy by the start of the league year in March, they'd have to pay him $11 million for next year. It's a lot of money. So I get that they did that, but that's still eating $7.2 million is a lot of money to pay a guy to not play for you. So I wonder if Barnes maybe will hold him off. We'll find it. We'll find out. The interesting thing will be who's playing, which of the two is playing more come December, somewhere in there when Smith has had time to learn the defense.
First of all, Lennox, yes. The blood pressure was very high. I'm not proud of how I handled the end of that game.
Well, you were writing on deadline. Just people wouldn't know this, but writing on deadline like that tends to skyrocket the blood pressure.
I had no idea what to make of anything, and I had to make something out of something. And I need a beer right now. I'm not going to lie. Levi Stokes, great out so far. Seems to be coming along. What do you think of Eric Stokes?
I thought he was pretty good. Even that receiver he was going against today, Chase, is a really talented dude. And that one catch they had on the deep ball late where it was a 3rd down and 4, I think, and or even 2, and they threw it over the top. He had good coverage on that. The guy just made a really nice play. Stokes almost, had a pick in the end zone on one of them, another ball over the top to this guy. I think he's looked pretty good. One bad missed tackle today, but I think in coverage, this guy's a better just pure cover guy than I knew or would have guessed.
We should mention there's not a question about him, but it's one of those games where any other week, what the Darnell Savage, Jamar Chase play would have been huge, and it's almost forgotten. But it's interesting to me, and I'm wondering your take on this. You go back to Week 17 at the Bears, he gave up 50-plus yards to Mooney. You go back to the NFC Championship game, 39, he gives up 50-plus yards to Godwin. You go today, and Darnell Savage Jr. is establishing that the knock on him is that he's a deep safety that struggles to track the deep ball. And he showed tremendous closing speed on that play, but ultimately he failed to play the ball. Like, in your position, you got to make that play, and you cannot miss. You absolutely, as a safety, you cannot miss there. And he misses, and he gives up a 70-yard touchdown that was shocking and allowed the Bengals right back into this game that the Packers had really under wraps and really controlling well going into halftime. It's a trend. Are you troubled by it?
Well, those are plays that lose games. I mean, they had the game that went from being kind of, I mean, it wasn't in hand. It was only in the first half, but sitting in a really good spot to all of a sudden they're right back in a dog fight. And the guy is super explosive. I mean, do you see how fast he closed on Burrows when he drilled him on that? And he does that this is a super explosive athlete.
Yeah.
I guess the way he plays the ball in the air is an indication of why he's playing on defense and not on offense.
He would have been a player. Like it's not to pile on Darnell Savage. He is a really talented guy. Great athleticism. He's a physical player. That play that he made on Joe Burrow was when Joe Burrow was scrambling, looked like he had a first down with his legs and just came out of nowhere like a missile and dropped him.
Like a missile is exactly
dropped
right.
him cold, short of the marker. That is a remarkable play. He is capable of that. There's one flaw in his game that he's got to correct as a deep safety, especially. But it's a huge flaw. Like you can't give up those kind of plays as a deep safety.
Maybe that's an argument for next year drafting a safety and making this guy your nickel guy. I just think of it as just off the top of my head.
Because they don't want to do that with Jair Alexander. I know that they haven't said this, but I think that you and I kind of agree that you with his maybe lack of size and how just invaluable Jair Alexander is as a perimeter cover guy, taking away half the field, you want to preserve that guy.
Right. It might going in there just might shorten his career, and they want to get 5 years or 7 years more out of this guy.
Darnell Savage in the middle though, with that type of explosiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
Something to think about for next year. Draft a safety and move this guy up.
Linda wants to know, wouldn't it have been better to commit a pass interference at the end of the half? Linda, anything would have been better than that.
It would have
tackled the guy. Take him out.
The one thing is though, you look at the replay. I can't blame the guy for going for it because the ball, if you look, it went right under his forearm. I mean, not just his hand; it went under his forearm. So, I mean, he was there. He's just got to judge the ball better. And, I'm sure that's something you can improve somewhat. So I would think they're, working on the judging scene and throwing the ball around and practice to help him on that. But he's still obviously got a ways to go because, teams are going to throw at him deep because of those 3 plays that you talked about, including one that just happened today.
It's going to keep happening. It's kind of like when you see the field goal block, they're going to protection be shoddy. It's going to continue to be pressured. What injury did Kevin King get? Holly wants to know. A shoulder injury. Stop me if you've heard that one before. That's why Isaac Yadam was covering T. Higgins, I think it was. I can't remember who it was in the back of the end zone for the 2-point conversion that tied the game there late. It's not good. You just can't stay healthy.
Yeah. Mike's got a question about, is it a vision issue for Savage? Maybe. I don't know if he's been to the eye doctor or not.
It's one of those questions that sounds a little like sarcastic, but actually isn't.
No. I mean,
not yours. Like I'm thinking like maybe we should ask Darnell Savage about that. It sounds
he would take it.
Right.
Like, oh yeah.
But it's actually like a legit question, like because he's right there and it keep like, and he's got all the talent like that. It just doesn't make sense. It's not like if he's a bad player, then well that makes sense. He's not a bad player. He's a good player. He's a very very talented guy.
Yes, King did get hurt again. He did not finish the game. That was another thing. They're finishing the game with Yadam out there as their as a starting outside corner.
Robin, God bless you. Next week, who they play next? Mike, I can't even.
Bears. They're at Chicago.
They're at Chicago.
I do know that.
I'm still on to Cincinnati right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm still trying to figure out whatever that was that we just saw. I think they'll win. More
screens and yards after the catch. They do. I think they've generally the last couple of weeks been getting the ball out a little quicker. But I thought the guy had a ton of time, generally speaking, to throw. I don't think the line was an issue at all, other than he got sacked on one play where Nyman just got smoked. He lunged. I don't know what he was doing. Like, even, I've never played left tackle, but I've watched enough and listened to enough offensive line coaches. You don't lunge when you're pass blocking. And he lunged at the guy, and Rodgers got sacked.
Yeah, Levi wants to know about Robert Tonyan. One catch for 8 yards, still not getting the targets, and it's starting to pile up.
It is. I thought he'd have bigger numbers, and that catch was a nice catch today.
It was.
And that was a really good, tough catch with tight coverage. I still think Levi, I like, if I'm betting I'm betting the guy still has good stats by the end of the year, but they have not been able to get him the ball much so far.
Here's something that we haven't talked about, and it's almost a footnote now, but it's huge. They were with, I know Pete and I have a little bit of disagreement here. They were without 4 of their best players. I think possibly 4 of their best 6. You think 4 of their best 7. But if you think about who their 7 best players are, right? Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, Za'Darius Smith, Jair Alexander. You've got David Bakhtiari, he's on PUP, Elton Jenkins, and Aaron Jones. There's 4 of those guys that they didn't have today. And then you even go, it's not even the top of their roster. It's no Josh Myers, Lucas Patrick, who only had really 1 bad snap today. Good for him. There's no MBS. He's on IR. It's remarkable. That Bengals team, like Davante Adams said, it's not an automatic win Bengals team that you expect in the past. That's a decent Bengals team, and they are as depleted as they've been, as battered as they've been at any point with Matt LaFleur. They've had remarkable health fortune. They're not having it right now. For them to overcome all that, it's pretty impressive.
You know, Robin Martin's got Big Dog with the big stiff arm. They're talking about Mercedes Lewis. You know, that was a really crafty play call because no one, if you're the Bengals, you are not worried the slightest about Mercedes Lewis. He is like, you're really hardly even paying attention to him. Yeah. And to throw a screen, and that was, what was the situation on that? Was that second long?
I can't remember.
It might have been second long. They might have been sacked or they had a penalty. And I just thought that was a really sneaky, crafty call by LaFleur to have everything on the left side and then come back and throw the screen on the right to Lewis, and he had all that running room.
2nd and 10, 2nd and long.
Yeah, so it was, I just thought, like, if you're the defense, that's the last thing you think they're going to do in such an important situation is to put the ball in that guy's hands.
They were in the locker room afterwards, a little big dog call, if you will. That was, you know, that was a team that definitely appreciated it.
It sounded like LaFleur. I was going to ask him this, and I never got the chance to get it in because there were people asking a lot of questions. But I was going to ask him, what did you hand out, like 10 game balls? Because there'd be a lull, and then you'd hear this cheer, like, you know, it was like you're watching Game of Thrones, and they just want a big battle. You know, and like they're saying, and so-and-so fought great, you know, and so I don't know how many guys he must have run through, but must have been at least 10 times where he must have said so-and-so did great. And like that was one of the most raucous regular season locker rooms that I've heard. Now, we're never in there, but just standing out, like in the interview room, we could hear the locker room. And they're always, you know, joyous when they win. But that was one of the most raucous after a regular season win I've ever heard.
Like I wrote, it was the type of noise you hear after big wins in January, not October. You don't hear that very often. But you know what? I get it. We were talking as we were waiting for Mason Crosby to come out. And, you know, when you win a game that you don't feel like you're supposed to win, not just because of the injuries, then they knew what the injury situation was. It's going to be tough on the road against an upstart Bengals team anyway. But then you make so many mistakes. Like they thought they lost this game twice, and then there are other times that they should have won the game and didn't, and you still win on the road. It was kind of more of a release of relief and euphoria than it was just being pleased. I mean, it was something beyond that.
Chad says great to see some disruption from Lowry, and that's true. He batted down a pass. He was he had a couple pressures, I think. So it's, I mean, I wouldn't know, no one's suggesting he was dominant or anything, but all it takes is a couple decent plays like that, and that can make a difference in a game, you know, especially if it's a third down, or if it's second and long, then you keep them in third and long, and you can bring your pass rush on third down then. So those plays count for something.
I think, Pete, the thing is they are piecing together enough from their depth up front on the defensive side to have some semblance of pressure and disruption, whether it's TJ Slayton and, you know, whether it's Dean Lowry, whether it's Jonathan Garvin, they're getting plays from those depth guys. Kingsley Keke last week. That needs to continue.
And I still think before it's all said and done, they need to go get somebody to help them to get to where they want to get, because they're going to be playing. Bengals are much improved. Joe Burrow's a pretty interesting quarterback, and you know, a dynamic guy with his arm, but they're going to be playing better teams than this, and they're going to need a little bit more in the front seven and a little more pass rush against those teams.
Here's what I think you learned today if you're the Packers. You already knew Jair Alexander is at some point hopefully going to come back. Like they are postponing surgery because they feel like it's going to heal and it's going to give them a chance to return this season. If that's got to happen, right? But if that does happen, I think you learned today that you've got enough depth at corner. Kevin King had a pretty darn good day for himself before he got hurt. Eric Stokes has been good. Shannon Sullivan was good. A lot of teams don't have that 2 through 4 that the Packers have after they're number 1 at corner. What you got to do, whether you get Zadarius Smith back or not, I think you do need more on that defensive front.
You know what? Because you talked about Stokes. I've seen a couple questions about. It sounds like I wonder if it looked a little different on TV that Stokes gave up some completions in front of him. But that, to some degree, that's the NFL, and you can't. It's hard to take away both the short pass and the deep ball. And there are play calls where the call is if they go underneath, they catch it and you go up and tackle them. Now, he did miss one tackle. That was a big tackle that I think it was Chase might have picked up an extra like 20 yards or whatever. And those are killers. But overall, I thought even the completions that were in front of him, he tackled quickly. I think most of them weren't for first downs. So I think the guy, for a rookie corner, and especially one picked at, what number was he overall? 29? Yeah, whatever it was.
I can't do numbers right now. I'm fried.
He's a better player early on than I would have guessed when they picked him.
Let's end it here with John Weiss, who's asking, and I love ending it here because do the Pack have a kicker on the practice squad? Mason Crosby made a game-winning kick today, and it's like I wrote, like a dream for any kicker. He missed 3, 2 of which would have been walk-off wins, a nightmare for any kicker. It's somewhat reminiscent to Detroit a few years ago, but it's almost more. It's not worse than that because he had a game-winning kick.
Don't forget, he missed an extra point early. That was huge. It turned out to be huge.
And he missed 2 coin tosses too. He called tails twice, and it was heads twice.
So I get the question, and I even put this in the column because it's like that's not good. And he's 37, so age is a legitimate worry now with this guy. And the guys can go downhill really fast. But the flip side is, since that incredibly bad game at Detroit in 18, he's 57 of 61 going until this game. So it's still a little early to usher him out the door, but
Christopher's on top of it.
Yeah. So I get the concern, but I wouldn't run the guy out of town quite yet, because he could bounce back and hit a whole bunch more in a row.
At the end of the day, he hit a 49-yarder for a game winner. 2 weeks after hitting a 50-some yarder, 51
or 2, yeah,
for a game winner, and he had 27 straight field goal makes in between, which is a franchise record. He said that it was he kept picking the wrong line, and I think there was maybe some other issues that Phil will show on the review with the operation, but he kept picking the wrong line, and it was some tricky wind here. This is a stadium he only kicks in once every 8 years, so that's a big deal for kickers. There's not a lot of familiarity there. I think that it can be chalked up to that because he had the distance. The leg's still strong enough. You can see that. It was just he was wide left 3 straight times. But I don't even know. He said it at the end. All he's thinking about at the end was he was excited because all he could think about was that last kick. But tomorrow is Monday, and there's going to be film review. It's going to be a lot different tomorrow. But
even tonight when he's going to sleep, I'm sure he's going to have really mixed feelings about today because. It's his job on the line, and he has earned, a pretty long leash. But he's 37, so it's not like he's just, it's like he's not like he's 32 and in his prime.
What a weird day for him. What a weird game in general. What a weird win for the Packers, but it was a win, and a win is a win, and it was a win in this league. 30th career win for Matt LaFleur. The best winning percentage of any NFL coach ever with 30 wins minimum, 30-7 in his career. They've never had a losing streak. It's absolutely remarkable. to think that he's had 37 regular season games and 30 wins. None will be wilder than this. It doesn't get wilder than this. But they've won 4 straight since that, whatever that was in week 1 against the
that's
New Orleans Saints.
That's starting to feel like eons ago.
Yeah, 4-1 now, 4 straight wins. A win is a win is a win, and that's what they'll take away from Cincinnati. Until then, make sure you go to Packers News because there's some. I mean, this was a fun day. Let me tell you, for someone for us in this business, a lot of these games can blend together. This is one that we're going to remember this one, and it was fun to write about. So make sure you go to Packers News and read our coverage today, tomorrow. Until then, he's Pete. I'm Ryan. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching.